I am musing this morning on the Christian narrative of Lucifer's fall, right? In Christianity, we generally associate Lucifer with Satan, with the angel that rebelled against God and took 1/3 of the angels with him. That's actually an astrological phenomenon and does not have anything to do with some rebellious angel. But I do have to say that I actually sympathize with the story of the fallen angel. Because now, since my awakening, since my renegade nature awakened in me, and I literally rebelled against the brainwashing and indoctrination of what society and the Christian society has taught me to abide by with its stories, I can sympathize with the story of Lucifer. It should not be a crime to follow the desire to be yourself, to experience yourself in such an awareness, in such a consciousness of the beauty of your own soul, that it would be seen as a challenge to God. You see, the problem with that interpretation is that we read these texts, we read these stories through the alienated mind, or the carnal mind, the ego mind, the separated self, and we think, and because we are coming from this duality, we think that we can oppose God. But that is only possible within the narrative of the fallen mind, right? Because God is everything. God is me and you in human form. God is every soul fragment that animates every human body. So how can the soul that wants to live according to its own intuitive promptings, that wants to come in its own full embodiment, how can we see that as enmity against God, as a challenge to God, when it's a God fragment seeking to live out in the fullness of God consciousness? See, the carnal mind, the mind that is forged in separation from God, cannot understand these truths, cannot understand these archetypes, and just creates more opposition, more division, more enmity, right? I understand the archetype of Lucifer. I understand that shadow. I understand that shadow now as I am living in the full expression of my own soul consciousness. And you cannot see this truth while you are behind the firewall of your separated mind. All is one. God is Lucifer, if you will. God is Satan, if you will. These are all bits and pieces, fragments of the shadow of what God wanted to experience. So there is no possible way, to live in rebellion to God when you have awakened to the consciousness that God is all and all is God. and all is one, right? You cannot be in rebellion against yourself. You cannot rebel against God. You would be rebelling against yourself, right? So it's not possible to rebel against God. It is, the rebellion against God is the abandonment of yourself, the denial of yourself, of your infinite self. If you take yourself away from the divine identity that you are, right? There is no such thing as rebellion against God. It's actually quite inverted. The Christian idol, the Christian definition for God is what takes you away from God. It is inverted. It's backwards. Because Christianity has a God forged in separation, a separate entity that you are required to worship. It is separation mentality, it's separation consciousness, and in that separation is how you actually rebel against God, by having separated yourself from the divinity that you are. Does that make sense?